Good morning, grade sevens. Actually, good afternoon. Welcome to STEM Lockdown Digital School. It's awesome to have you guys back again. Nice to see you. I hope you're all doing well and you're having a lovely, lovely day. So today we are going to do some writing, okay? But we may not get to all the writing because we have to kind of like go through the process, especially when it comes to writing about drama. It's kind of a new area. So I'm going to go through it nice and slowly, and we're going to do a few nice activities. Okay, so you know who I am, and I'm your teacher and presenter, Sheena Cooney. These are my handles where you can send me pictures of your work or share anything about these lessons that you're happy about and any feedback. And there's my address if you want me to have a look at some of your work. Okay. And now, here we go. Hello, Tiana, welcome. Hello, everybody. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to write at least a review about a play, the characters in the play, the plot, the conflict, the background, the setting, the stage, all those interesting things when we watch a play. But we're going to go a bit more from a different direction. Okay. So we are going to be the critics. All right. So what is the purpose of a review? Why do we criticize or crit plays? Why do we give reviews? What is a review? Now, you know what a book review is. Okay, so that's we've been through one of those. I'm sure you know what that is, and I'm sure you've written one as well. Okay. Oh, is that your brother's name? Sorry. Well, welcome. And the thing with the review is, especially with a play, you need to be subjective. In other words, yes, you can have an opinion, but that mustn't be the main focus of your play. So it's not about your opinion. It's about what you actually saw and reporting on that. So you need to have quite good background about theatre. You need to watch quite a few plays and be really informed about them and how they work, and look at the props and look at the lighting and everything like that. Otherwise, your review is not going to be credible because they think, oh, this person's just telling their opinion. Now, the reason why we do a review is so that if we are people that like to go and watch plays and that like to go and watch productions, we don't want to spend money on something if we don't know whether it's going to be worth it or not. It's like a movie. You'll read watch a trailer, or you'll read a movie review before you spend money to go and watch a movie. It's the same with plays. Okay, it gives you as an audience member an opportunity to find out if it's worthwhile even going to watch. So now you can welcome to take notes, I know, because there's probably a lot of information we're going to go through. Now, although the review does describe the play or situation, it doesn't give away too much information because you don't want to spoil it. You don't want to give them all the surprises, all the twists, all the turns, because then what's the point of even going to watch it? So that is why we have to be careful when we give a review, all right? And a review should really be positive and negative. It needs to have a bit of both, because it might appeal to some people and not to others. Now, it's not good enough to say that a play is bad or play is good. Like I said before, it's like giving a yes and no answer. You need to back yourself up. Okay, so you can't say a play was good without giving a reason why it was good, and you can't say a play is bad without giving a reason. You need to have given it thought, and the person reading your review needs to see that you actually gave this some thought. Okay, so when you watch a play, you look at all the elements, you look at how the props are done, how the lighting's done, how the characters, the actors are acting out their characters, how the sequencing is working out. Is it making sense? Does it come together? And all these different elements you need to comment on as part of your review. So if you're going to have an opinion, make sure that you can support that opinion. So really, a review is giving an audience a sense of the play. So the readers know, okay, this looks like a really, really good production. I think I'm going to watch that. So then they don't mind spending their hard-earned money or buying a ticket or choosing to go out for a night. Okay, and what should you learn from a review? Okay, so a review should ultimately describe the situation of the play, but not giving it away. Okay, so as we said before, it addresses all the elements and it must work together. It must be thought out, really thought out. Okay, so here's a brief idea of your review. You start your review, like at the top, you'll have the name of the production, you'll have who wrote the play, then you'll have your introduction, a plot summary, talk about the performance, talk about the design elements, which we'll get into, and reaction. So at the end of the play, how did you feel? What was your action? Okay, so you can share that with your audience. So if you look at a traditional structure of a play review, the one I've given you here, you can see that it has about 5 paragraphs. Okay, now you can either talk about one play or you can compare 2 plays. So you can go watch 2 plays of the same story. For example, you can go and watch 2 plays of Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, and then the one will be completely different to the other and you can compare them. Welcome, you're not too late. I've just started, don't worry. So you can actually compare them. So I actually chose Goldilocks today because we did it the other day and you guys had a good giggle about that. So I thought, let's choose something easy like that to compare. So I actually went and found some real plays of Goldilocks and the 3 Bears and real reviews about them. And I'm going to use them in our lesson today to just give you an idea of how we're going to do this. So if you want to jot down these, here Goldilocks again, if you want to jot down these pointers of the introduction and the plot and the performance and the design elements and the reaction, you can jot that down because at least you've got it then. All right. Okay, so paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 is your introduction. So now you're describing what you saw on stage. Like who the writer of the play is, where is it staged? So if I say, like in our previous play, we had, was it Gary Hatwell or something? Oh, I actually can't remember the author's name that we did yesterday. That is so terrible of me. But he wrote the play. So you will actually mention his name. So you'll mention the play, A Berry Twisted Tale. You'll say, you went and viewed A Berry Twisted Tale, and the stage was set up to look like the inside of the little bear's house, or the 3 Bears' house. The author or the playwright, they call it a playwright, a person that writes play, is so-and-so, and it is being staged in London Broadway theatre. So you kind of like give an introduction as to, just like you would a book, except a book you're talking about the book's name, the book's author, and the illustrator of the book. So this is just a bit different. This is just about a play. It will probably have a lot more detail though, okay? Play review is a lot more detailed than a book review. All right, so then in paragraph 2, you briefly summarize the plays. So it's about a little girl who enters into the home of the 3 bears, eats their food, sleeps on their bed, and sits on their furniture and runs away. Okay, so you briefly like saying, okay, go get your charger, quick, 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 run, I'll still be here. All right, so yeah, you just basically give an idea of the story, but you're not giving away all the things that would happen. For example, if you say in paragraph 2, yes, Goldilocks went into the house, she sat on their chair, she ate their food, you're not including that the porridge is too hot, then too cold, then just right. You're not including that she broke one of the chairs. You're not including that she fell asleep in the little bear's bed. That they must all find out. Welcome back. That they must all find out when they actually watch the play. So you don't want to give it all away. Okay, I'd love to know how you guys do those emojis. Mine doesn't want to work. Okie dokie. So now we have paragraph 3. This is where you discuss the actual acting. So, when you go to watch a play and is that why? Okay. I thought laptops were supposed to be more special. Oh, well. I'll just have to put my own smiley faces and little crosses and hearts. Hey. So we're going to, when you do paragraph 3, you must remember the acting is the people that act like the character. Okay. So they are going to I'm trying to think of some, give me an actor's name. Give me an actor you like to watch, his name, a girl. Give me a name. Because I can't think of a name. Because she can play Goldilocks. In my example. Jennifer Aniston. Oh, I love Jennifer Aniston. Okay, Jennifer Aniston is going to act like Goldilocks in the play. So that's what you do in paragraph 3. You say Jennifer Aniston is acting as Goldilocks in the play, and she does a really, really good job. Or you can say she does a really bad job and forgets her lines. Okay, we mustn't use the word bad and good. Remember, I did say that. Okay, but I'm just trying to give you a brief example. The director would be the person that is directing the actors. So although you won't see them directing visibly as the play is happening, they were doing it when the actors were practicing for the play. They were saying, okay, I want the dining room table there, I want the little bear's beds there, I want the door there, I want the actors to do this, I want Goldilocks to curtsy at such and such a point, so that's what a director does. He also, or she also talks about, gets the lighting, says how they want the lighting, what they want the costumes, what they want the actors and actresses to be wearing, what costumes they should be wearing. Okay, so in paragraph 3, you're discussing how if the acting's any good, if the directing's any good, because if the actors have the timing right, then the director's obviously good, okay? If the acting's good, then they can obviously play their character very well. Then you also share a little bit of your reaction to the performers, to the acts that are happening, whether you thought, you could say like Goldilocks was brilliant, she played a part so well, but that dude who played the daddy bear, he was not the right guy, his voice was too squeaky, he should have had a deeper voice. So you can comment on things like that. All right, so paragraph 3 is just discussing a bit about the performance, but we're going to have a look at that in a bit more detail. Okay, so then we have paragraph 4. These are where you talk about how good or how effective, let's put it that way, how effective the lighting was, how well designed or how simplified the costumes are. The makeup, was it done well, or was it a bad job, or was there no makeup? Was it too much makeup? The set, was the set designed well? Was it appealing? The props, were they any good? Were they effective in carrying across what the actors were trying to carry across? For example, if you were having camping chairs, okay, as your breakfast table chairs on the set, all right, would it be as effective as having a wooden stool, or if you used a couple of bricks on top of each other as a chair instead of an actual camping chair, or instead of an actual wooden stool, you're comparing in that way, which is more effective, which is more useful, works better when you're doing a play. Okay, so you kind of got to think a bit more detail. Okay, so then you have your paragraph 5, which is your reaction. So would you recommend the play? Remember when we did advertising, we also said we did a recommendation review of whether you would recommend a certain item for someone to buy. Well, this is very similar. Would you recommend the play to audience members? Okay, so you go and you watch the play, you watch The Berry Twisted Tale, and do you recommend it? Do you give it a star rating? Do you give it a thumbs up? Do you give it a thumbs down? Now this is where you can put your opinion, but your whole review mustn't be based on simply your opinion. It must be based on what you actually saw. All right. Now, how do I write a good review? Well, the first thing you need to do is go watch a show. And I've actually added one on at the end. I've added a link to a show that you can go and watch. It's quite funny. It's an actual play done by kids on a stage, and it just gives you a better feel of what it's like watching a theatre. Okay, so yes, you do need to actually go watch a play to write a real review, and you need to get into the habit of explaining your feelings, explaining why you think something's good, explaining why you think something's bad. So you're going into a bit more depth. So that is a skill that you actually have to learn, and it does give your review more clout than someone else's, who, like, if someone else gave an opinion but they didn't really back it up, and they were like, oh, it was okay, not really my thing, the costumes were simple. You're like, how are they simple? You need a bit more detail as a person reading a review to go and watch a play. Another thing that really helps is actually going to watch reviews of other shows, which we're going to do. We're going to read a few today. So we're going to look at them and see, okay, what can we use from there to guide us into writing our own? You will write in your own style. You always will. You won't really copy the works of others, but you use them as a guideline. Like, okay, they mentioned this in this way, so I kind of know how to approach that. So it just gives you an idea of how to approach the different areas of a play. Alrighty, so let's have a look at this one. This is a play of Goldilocks, all right? It's a review, and as you can see, it's got the title at the top, all right? And it tells you the rating at the top, the stars. It tells you who wrote the review, at what date they went to watch this. So this person, Mark Shenton, he actually went to watch the play. Look at the expression. Now, the one thing I want you to note about this is that it says there, the now annual pantomime, which this year is very loosely based on the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So it immediately tells you in the introduction that it's not really following the story of Goldilocks very strictly. Okay, it's very loosely based on it. All right, so then they have patchwork framework to hang lavish, eye-popping series of turns and twists. So they're just using the idea of the story of Goldilocks as to basically have their own show. They're just using it to hold it together. And it says here at the in one of the comments that we have here, just pop them out. This indecently enjoyable show feels like Panto as War from start to finish. Okay, so please tell me to what audience would watch this if it says indecently enjoyable? So indecently enjoyable. Would this be a family show? Would this be for children? Would this be who kind of like would enjoy this kind of show, adults and children. Okay, so just be aware of some of these comparisons, okay, for when we move on to the next review. There we go. Now it says, you'll find soon enough who's it for. Read this review. This is little asserts I took from the review. Variety acts in a division of dancers hurl themselves gleefully over the top. You might as well surrender. I loved it, but I do wonder if they tone it down. So there it kind of like tells you that there's dancers. There's a variety of acts. Now, let's be honest. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, are there dancers? Are there a variety of acts? You know, kind of like. And then it says this new wave of paladin pantos, of which Goldilocks is the fourth. So obviously they have done a lot of different fairy tales, but they just use it as a frame for their show. Okay, they don't actually follow the story. Okay, so it says here, nobody goes for the plot, but it's an eye-popping spectacle. See how they describe it? Panto purists, that's people who love pantomimes, will be disappointed that the audience isn't really participating. So it says, yes, it says instead we get a circus theme appropriate enough for theatre. So what we did gather from this Goldilocks is that, yes, they're singing, there's probably dancing, it's more of a circus. So what do you do when you go to a circus? You watch trapeze artists, you watch gymnasts, you watch fire blowers and all these different acts. So I think that this review is quite descriptive in what they saw. They mention the storyline, which there isn't really. They mention the acts, how they perform. Okay, so they also mention that it's a bit lavish and eye-popping. All right, now they have another part to it here where they talk about tap dancing. They talk about a ventriloquist. And Goldilocks is not the main focus of this. She's more of the tap dancer in the story. There's roller skaters, apparently. So yes, this is way more like a circus than actually Goldilocks. So now, if you were a person, a theatre goer, and you wanted to see Goldilocks and the Three Bears, like the traditional story, you best read this review because you're going to be so disappointed if you go and watch it and you discover that you're actually attending a theatre performance that's pretty much like a circus. Okay, so that's why reviews are so important. Yes, this is one we must go watch. Hey? Alrighty, so let's look at a different one. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's also Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And it says it's got 4 stars. It's at the Derby Theatre, so it tells you where it is. The classic tale plays out on a lusciously crafted, eco-friendly set by a company gently pushing the boundaries of kids' theatre. So this one, yeah, it's quite different. Almost everything in Sam Wilde's set has been recycled. So there are blankets made from crisp packets and branches from the local scrap heap. We also have Ivan Scott's compositions. So the person who provides the music. So it's more like an orchestra. It's not background music or recordings. So they're lively and eclectic. They sound like country and Western Irish folk music. And it says that the composer is also the chief storyteller. So he's the narrator. And he acts as Daddy Bear. And it says that he engages naturally with the audience. So how is this completely, is it the same as the previous review we saw? Is it completely different? Can we use them as a comparison when you're describing a review? So they have a bear and a fluffy puppet son. Okay. Goldilocks is stroppy. Okay. But in this one, Goldilocks is not the heart of the story. It's actually the bears that are the heart of the story. All right. So it says it remains captivating. It pulls in children and makes them feel utterly at home. So if you compare the two, first look at this one. How does the reviewer structure a review? Is this traditional structure? So if you look at the paragraph in the beginning, does it tell you about who's in the play, where the play is being held, the scene, the background? Does it give you an idea of what the play is about? How would you compare it to the previous one? Would you be able to compare the two critically? Because remember, we did a layout of the review earlier. So yeah, we got a few. We're going to do an example now. Okay, so how do the reviews compare? So compare the first one we watched to the second one. How do you think? Are they similar? Are they different? How are they similar? How are they different? So any ideas, grade 7s? Okay, so now you can say they're different, but how would you compare them? If you were giving a review and describing someone and giving your opinion, welcome back. How do you compare them? How do you compare the first play we looked at to the second review, the first review to the second review? If you had to go and watch both plays. Okay, good. Yes, the first one is more like a circus. The second one is more like a puppet. That's actually a good idea, the puppet show. Okay. And by the amount of ratings it got, yes. Okay, so in the first one, yes, okay, I like that idea. The second one is more like a childish show. So in the first one, the Goldilocks and Three Bears, did you get a sense that the story was being told? Okay, so the first one is different because it is more modern. Yeah, and they didn't really follow the Goldilocks story, the traditional story at all. Okay, so if you just want to go see entertaining, lively act, you'd probably go to the first one. If you want to see the actual, there's like the second one is more closer to the story, although they're probably telling it from the bear's perspective. So when you write your review, you can actually compare the two. Now, if you were directing the first play, they ask you what liberties were taken. In other words, compare the original story of Goldilocks to the first play you watched. Liberties mean that they had freedom to do something different. They took liberties with it. So if you compare it to the traditional one, did they take a lot of liberties? Like, did they really change the whole thing? How did they change it compared to the original? Very good. They dressed differently. That's definitely a liberty they took. They didn't remain with the old traditional costume. What else do you think? Yeah, the first one really did take a lot more liberties than the second one. I have to agree with you there. They both had a different background. Do you mean setting by that? Ah, they had dancers, yes, in the first one. Oh, from what I'm reading here as well, I get the sense that you also can see that the first one is very, very like lively and busy. And the second one is very like calm and like simple and quiet. So it's kind of, they both have a completely different effect. Do you see how differently, just by reading a review, the review tells you what the play was like? So if those reviews that I shared with you can tell you and give you a feel of the play, that is a good review because it's getting its message across. So one of the important thing is don't judge it on your personal taste. Okay, the readers, like we decided whether we would be interested in the first one or whether we'd be interested in the second one. So too, when you write a review, you mustn't decide for the people reading it whether it's good enough or bad enough, or whether it appeals to them or not. Okay, you can give your opinion, but don't base it on that. All right. Rather consider the goal of the person who wrote the play, the goal of the person who directs the play. Why did they do it that way? What was their goal? Was their goal to provide a nice, calming story for the children, or family environment, or something for the family to go watch? Or was their goal to provide lively entertainment? I like that one, to make people laugh for the first one. Yes, that's very good. That's very good. So you've got to actually look at the goal of the director. That's a good take on it as well. Okay, exactly. It might attract the audience. Precisely. And we all do like to have our own opinion. So yes, your review needs to be interesting and funny. Did you notice the descriptive words they used in it as well? Eye-popping, and then the second one, they used words like eco-friendly. So it really, the words are chosen very, very well. So to write a review, you do the same as with the writing process. You write a rough draft. Actually, while you're watching the play, you take notes, really, to be honest. While you're watching it, say, oh, I noticed this and I noticed that. And oh, well, I really liked it when this happens. In that way, you have enough detail so that when you're describing to someone or writing a review, the person that is reading your review can actually see what you see. So you need to be specific. For example, when they spoke about the costumes of the first one, they really went into detail, like it was like really, there's a word that they actually use, but it's very fanciful and it's very over the top. Okay, so now the second one, they emphasized, or they described in their detail, how simple it was and how that recycled goods were used. So the detail, it's those detail in your words. You need to be specific about your description so that the person reading it, remember, they haven't seen the play. So they need to imagine it to see if it's something that they want to see. Now, you can judge if the play was effective, even if you didn't enjoy it, even if you didn't like it, even if it wasn't your thing, it could still be effective. Like maybe I don't like, this is just an example, by the way, maybe I don't like loud music and lots of dancing and lots of busyness, but I still might think the play is effective because it was entertaining, it was lively, and it did make you laugh. Okay, so you can still judge something and still have your own opinion of it. That's a skill we need to learn. All right. You cannot judge in front of them. If you judge behind their backs, it's still effective. Okay, so yeah, in saying that, you basically don't make your personal opinion the main feature. So yeah, you can give your opinion. You can state it honestly, but your points about the actual play must be true. So if they were dancing, and if they were, what can you say? If their garments were shiny, you can say that. Even if you didn't particularly like the outfit, you can still say it was put together well, or it was sewn very well, or you can comment on that, whether or not you like the outfit. So you're kind of using it from that kind of direction. I mean, you could say an outfit looked really, really brilliant on stage with the lighting and everything, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go and buy that outfit and wear it. Okay, so it's kind of in that context. All right. You can say that too. You can say the clothing was attractive, but not on the person. It didn't fit them well or something. That's actually quite good. So the best thing to do is like the link that I've given you to the play, for the play to watch. It's actually quite funny if you bother, but what I mean is if you have the actual time to go and watch it. All right. It is about, how can I say, it's about a dictionary. A dictionary salesman. Okay, so it's about this kid. Well, they're all kids in this play. All right, so that's why I think you'll actually enjoy it. So this kid is trying to sell a dictionary to people who can't read. So it's very funny, and it's very simple. But you can use it as an example to taking notes during the show, and you can actually watch it and actually write a review about it and even share it with me. It would be awesome. I'd love to know actually if you can do that, if you can try and do that. So the acting and directing of the production, you take notes about that while you're sitting there and watching it. If you like the dialogue, what the people said to each other, whether it was funny, whether it wasn't funny, whether it was boring. If you like the movement on stage, or if you felt there was too much movement, you can mention that. You can mention whether they were serious, whether they were funny, whether it was too formal, whether the speech was conversational, whether it was fancy. You can say whether the play was modern, like you guys actually said earlier, or whether it was set, or heartbreaking. If you're watching that kind of play, I'm basically mostly referring to the ones that I shared with you today. But absolutely, that is possible to say if it's sad and if it pulls at your heartstrings. You can also mention, yes, slang is informal speech. Yeah, so you can say it either way. And that is where words are quite effective. So your choice of words in your review is what makes your review effective. It's what brings the play to life before you watch it. So if your review can bring the play to life for somebody who hasn't gone and watched the play, it's a good review. All right, so you can mention the special lighting, you can mention the technology, you can mention if the audience was included in participating or if they weren't. And now, even as an audience, you can still be engaged to a play, even if you're not participating in the play, even if the audience isn't included, you can still be engaged in it or wrapped up in it. Quite possible. Okay, so now you also you form your own impressions of the production. Was it successful? Was it unsuccessful? Now, remember what we said about the adverts. Create a strong hook or line to open the review. So you need to make sure that your hook, to hook your audience in your introduction, that it's got to actually do with a play. All right. Don't make a bold statement or say something that's completely unrelated. And generally, as you do in your first paragraph, it's who, what, where, when. Okay, so who's the play about? What's it about? Just briefly. Well, it depends on your play. You could have a play that it can be the same story, and the one can be formal and the one can be informal. Okay, so you could hook is, how do you get someone interested in reading your review? For example, if I started my review with, and Goldilocks was not Goldilocks. All right, that could be my hook. So it's got to do with the story, but it's also got to do with the fact that it's more like a circus pantomime than actual Goldilocks and the Three Bears traditional story. So that's your hook, your opening line. Okay. You can be really creative with that and keep it short and keep it sweet and get your audience hooked. The full title of the play has to be included in there. Okay, you have to include where and when you saw the show. So you can't give a review if you haven't gone to see it. So if you go online and you go and watch this play that I'm sharing the link with you later, if you go and watch that, you can pretend you're actually at the play watching it and writing your review. So the date that you go in and look at that, you use that date. Because obviously, if you're writing a review for school or something, you won't always be able to go and actually watch a play before you write your review. All right. So you might have to improvise a bit. Then you need to include who wrote the show. So the person who's the playwright might not necessarily be the director, but they could be. Okay, they could be different people, or they could be the same people, or it could be just a production company. Like Walt Disney is a production company. So instead of naming specific names, you could say Walt Disney, if they were obviously producing the play. You can then go on to discuss the plot. So, for example, the plot in the first one we looked at was really more like a circus act. There was no plot, to be fair. There was no real story, okay? But in the second one, there was a plot and it was a story, but it was just more focused on the bears. All right. Now remember, it's not good to insult the actor, their personal appearance, okay? You're looking at the acting. All right. You can describe that they didn't completely live up to the character or were able to carry across, or they weren't vocal enough. You can say things like that, but you don't actually criticize the individual. That's not really cool. Okay. And then you also can talk about the setting of the stage, be real descriptive so we can imagine it, the main characters. But look here, you don't do too many lines. You don't want to give it away. You know, you just want to give enough information to give them an idea of the play so that they will go maybe watch it for themselves. Obviously, as a reviewer, you would want them to watch it if you liked it. But remember, a good reviewer is not biased. Okay, so what they mean about the acting and the directing, they mean, is it believable? Do they perform in such a way that you actually believe what's happening, like it feels real? Is it vocal? Can you hear them properly? Sometimes, often you go to a play and you remember you're out in the audience. You're not always sitting up front. If they don't talk loud enough, you're not going to hear, because they can't all have microphones across the stage, because then you have a lot of background muffling and static and things like that. So you've got to be able to project your voice, not shout, project your voice. There is a difference. It also has to be interesting, obviously. So you've got to say whether it was interesting or not interesting. You can say that. Okay, so let's do a little activity and see what you remember. I'm not going to read the top for you. I want you to read that for a second. We're going to do this activity before we go. So just look at the top there. Read it to yourself. And then I'm going to ask you to match the appropriate word to the appropriate description. Now, remember, when you give me the answers, please label them 1, 2, 3, 4, because I don't know which one you're talking about. Okay. So the first is a word for where the play takes place, actors in a play, another word for drama, people who watch the play, what characters wear in the play, what happens in a play, different items used in a play, what a play tells, and where the characters act. Now, some of the answers are seeable at the top. You can kind of gauge what the answer is. I've got quite a few that say number 1, where the play takes place is either the setting or the stage. Someone said, I'm saying someone says because I can't read all the answers and the names at the same time. I'm not that good. All right, so the audience watched the play. Number 2, the actors in the play are the characters. All right. Okay, so you all, can you see that one? Where the play takes place, that's the setting. Exactly, that's where it is happening. That's your setting. Very good. Let's see if you're right for number 2. There we go, your characters in the play. Very good. Another word for drama is play. Well done. Props. Which one's props? For people who watch the play, you say audience. I say yes. Pat, pat on the back. Number 5. What characters wear? What do characters wear? Yay! Costumes. Very good. Well done. What happens in the play? Pat, pat. What happens in the play? Quick sticks. Okay, number 7, you say is items. Do we have items? Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, so what happens in the play is your events. Well done, guys. Pat, pat. Let's see number 7. Your items. Yes, they are your props. They are your props. Excellent. Good job. 2 more to go. What a play tells. Yes, story. Last but not least, where the characters act on the stage. Well done. Okay, so I'm going to scroll through this because you can do this activity on your own online. So I'm just scrolling it because I want to show you something. This is a YouTube clip where you can go to watch that play I told you about, The Dictionary Salesman. It's really, really good. And then you can write a review about it and maybe you can share it with me. And I really love to leave it. I really love to leave it. So read it, actually. So, guys, I have to love and leave you. So please have a great day. And I hope to read some of your reviews soon. Bye-bye.